Welcome to CBS Sports HQ. I'm Amanda Guerra with you on this Friday. We are getting ready for our second round of preseason games. 2 on tap tonight. The rest sprinkled out over the course of the weekend. About to give you some updates on the biggest storylines heading into the weekend, including Travis Hunter. Well, we get to see him play. The Jags taking on the Saints in their second preseason game, but there is a chance we will not see Travis Hunter on the field. Head coach Liam Cohen saying that he's dealing with some sort of upper body injury. The Jags lost to the Steelers in their first preseason game, with Hunter playing on both sides of the ball. 10 snaps on offense, 8 on defense. It is also more than likely Dillon Gabriel will get his first start in an NFL uniform tomorrow when the Browns take on the Eagles. It has been an interesting preseason for the Browns, with Joe Flacco the presumed starter once the season gets underway, but with Kenny Pickett, Dillon Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders all fighting for a roster spot, and more specifically, that backup spot. Pickett dealing with a hamstring injury. Sanders started the first game. He is dealing with an oblique strain, so all signs now pointing to Dillon Gabriel getting his first start. For more on that, let's welcome in Ryan Wilson. Ryan, Dillon Gabriel is one of those quarterbacks you followed throughout his entire career in college. He went from UCF to Oklahoma to Oregon. I think he started something like 63 games. And that's the type of thing, when you talk to these teams and you say, what do you want in a rookie quarterback? They say experience. How much is that going to help Dillon Gabriel?
We'll find out, Amanda, because the other thing that you left out is that he is not 6 feet tall. He's an incredibly great leader. When you talk to his teammates at Oregon, they all rallied behind him. And this was a year after Bo Nix was there. And Bo Nix obviously made himself a lot of money in terms of where he was drafted, coming from Auburn to Oregon and balling out there. So the physical tools aren't as great as, say, your typical 6'5", 220-pound quarterback. But Dillon Gabriel has a surprisingly good arm, and he got better at each and every stop. And as you mentioned, he played a ton of football. And that experience does historically help young quarterbacks. Now, the other thing is this. He hasn't played a lot in recent weeks because he's been banged up with an injury, so it'll be a good opportunity for him to come out and get his feet wet. I do wonder if there's going to be some pressure, perceived or otherwise, of him trying to match what we saw Shedeur do last week, because Shedeur's been taking QB4 reps since the start of training camp, and Dillon Gabriel's been ahead of him on the depth chart. But certainly things could change over the next 2 weeks. I don't think anyone's going to get to #1 ahead of Joe Flacco, but Kenny Pickett, maybe he's not long for the team. There are a lot of things to sort out, and a good performance by Dillon Gabriel will just make the decision a little more difficult for Kevin Stefanski. But that's a good thing when you draft 2 quarterbacks in this draft class.
And they have 4 quarterbacks, technically 5 if you include Huntley there. Let me ask you this when it comes to their quarterback room, because we've seen so many injuries with all of these guys already in this preseason. And look, they're all getting their shot now. We saw Shedeur Sanders. We're going to see Dillon Gabriel. Do you have any better idea of what this depth chart is going to look like when we get to the season, and actually how many of them are going to be on it?
I don't, and part of that isn't because of the way Shedeur played last week. He was really impressive, and I think I don't know if he quieted his doubters, but his supporters were certainly a little louder. But I think Kevin Stefanski, if he didn't throw a wet blanket on the situation, he wasn't as effusive as I thought he might be. And I think he's also trying to temper, #1, the expectations that Shedeur is going to leapfrog up the depth chart, and also wants to give Dillon Gabriel a chance to have his say on the field, and that'll happen this week. And, you know, I'm talking to our buddy Rand Carthon about this. He said you could take a shot if you're Shedeur Sanders with an oblique injury and play, but this isn't a playoff game or even a regular season game, and it might be Kevin Stefanski's chance to give Dillon Gabriel an opportunity to breathe without the pressure of Shedeur coming in after him. So I have no clear idea what this depth chart looks like after #1 and Joe Flacco. And the other thing, Amanda, is Joe Flacco going to be playing in week 5 or week 6? And that's something else that Kevin Stefanski, I'm sure, has thought about. And then what's that plan going to look like if Kenny Pickett, again, gets traded and you're going to have to deal with 2 rookies as the next man up?
The Browns taking on the Eagles tomorrow. So let's talk about another rookie in Travis Hunter. Hearing that he may not play this weekend. All Liam Cohen would say is that it is an upper body issue. We don't have any more information than that. But I guess the concern is, we've been wondering this entire time, can he play both sides of the ball? Can he deal with that amount of just pressure on his body? I mean, we saw him do it in college, but this is the NFL. Where is your concern level, or do you have any right now for Travis Hunter?
Oh, no, I have concerns, and those are the concerns you're laying out. It's sort of like having a Lamborghini, and instead of taking it to the racetrack for an hour a week, you're driving across country in it, and you're surprised when it breaks down. And I think that just brings us back to the old NBA term of load management, because Look, I would love to see Travis Hunter play every single snap, and I've talked about it in the pre-draft process that we have to be sure not to overuse him, but it's so easy to fall in love with all the things he does well. Played on both sides of the ball last week, limited reps in that play in the the preseason game against the Steelers, and he looked a lot like what we thought he was going to look like. And I think this week was going to be a chance for him to be even more explosive and do some of the things we saw in Colorado. But the other thing is this, Amanda, he's banged up here with the upper body injury, quotation marks, but he was injured last season in Colorado. He was injured the season before that at Colorado. He's been banged up throughout his college career, and you just have to guard against falling in love with what he can do in one single play and just have him out there for the duration of the season, as opposed to, you might hit a home run in one game, he plays 120 snaps, and he misses 2 months. So I think Liam Cohen's doing the exact right thing here, and we just have to be reminded that we cannot overuse the Lamborghini on the cross-country trips.
Yeah, look, we saw it with Shohei Ohtani, but he's not getting hit by guys that are 300 pounds.
Going to be calling that first game tonight, Titans and Falcons. Charles Davis joining us from his hotel room, and you saw Ward firsthand last week. Led that touchdown drive. He was 5 of 8, 65 yards. Looked good. What's the plan tonight, and what do you want to see?
Chris, you're right. He did look good, especially on that second drive. And they did something that Tennessee didn't do much of last year, which was overcome a penalty on a drive. Normally if they got penalties and it knocked them back, it killed the drive. But last week, they were able to overcome it, get through it, and score. The expectation this week, talking with Brian Callahan, the head coach, they had joint practices with Atlanta, so they got 2 full days of work in. So they're expecting maybe 2 series tonight. But if the first series is like a 12-play drive, then that probably will be it for Cam Ward. And they just want to continue to see some progress, continue to see him on an upward trajectory. Did not have a good first day in the joint practice against Atlanta. Actually addressed the team, Chris, afterwards and told them, that's on me, that's my bad, and came back and had a second day. He's got a lot of maturity for a youngster, and they want to continue to see more of that on display.
Is it possible that this is the last time we'll see him in the preseason, or you think we'll see him again in the third game?
I think anything's possible, Chris. And the way that they're going about it with the first 2 games with just 2 series at each of them, I think that you're on track. That does continue to, that kind of computes that they wouldn't play him in the third one to make sure he's ready for the opener. But he is a rookie. They were 3-14 last year. They want these guys to get some time. So there is a possibility they could go 1 series against Minnesota next week at home.
Okay, so Cam Ward could play in all 3 games, definitely playing multiple series tonight, unless it's a really long first drive. How about the other side, though? What do you think of the Falcons sitting Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins again?
I think we go back to the joint practice sessions. Kirk Cousins is a veteran. You know what he can do, and typically guys who have played as long as Kirk know how to come off the bench and play with minimal practice time or game speed time because they've done it so many times before. For Michael Penix, you have to have him for your season. It's bottom line. And because they had the 2 practices with with Tennessee, I think they feel like he got a lot of work in because, Chris, you know what a joint practice is like. You do